Today, the United States informed us they will be imposing 25% tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States and 10% on Canadian energy, marking a major global trade war. Tonight, after President Trump announced sweeping tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, imposing stiff new tariffs on the country's three biggest trading partners, Americans are bracing for prices to rise at grocery stores and gas pumps across the country. Tariffs don't cause inflation. They cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. Donald Trump's latest move to slap massive tariffs on Canada and Mexico has sparked outrage across the globe, with leaders like Claudia Sheinbaum and Justin Trudeau ready to fight back. Is this the beginning of a full-blown trade war? Stick around as we uncover how Trump's actions could backfire spectacularly. On February 1st, 2025, Donald Trump unleashed another economic shockwave by imposing 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, two of America's largest trading partners. This decision, which Trump claims is aimed at combating illegal immigration and drug trafficking, has already sparked outrage from world leaders and economists alike. The move threatens to destabilize the intricate trade relationships cultivated over decades under agreements like the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. The tariffs are nothing short of an economic gamble. Trump insists they are necessary to protect American jobs and punish Canada and Mexico for what he perceives as their failure to address the flow of undocumented migrants and drugs, particularly fentanyl, into the United States. However, experts argue tariffs will do far more harm than good, with over $1.8 trillion in annual trade between the US, Canada, and Mexico. The ripple effects will be felt across industries ranging from agriculture to automotive manufacturing. For American consumers, these tariffs mean higher prices on everyday goods, from fresh produce imported from Mexico to cars assembled with Canadian parts. The costs will inevitably be passed down to households grappling with inflation. Economists warn that this could lead to a significant spike in living expenses for middle and lower income Americans, ironically hurting the people Trump claims to champion. The business community is equally alarmed. US manufacturers that rely on raw materials from Canada and Mexico now face increased production costs, putting them at a competitive disadvantage globally. These disruptions could lead to layoffs in key sectors like automotive manufacturing and agriculture, further undermining the economy. Trump's tariff strategy is not just economically reckless, it's politically short-sighted. By alienating two of America's closest allies, he risks unraveling years of diplomatic progress under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. The agreement was designed to foster cooperation and mutual benefit among North American nations. Instead, Trump's unilateral actions threaten to turn trading partners into adversaries. You promised Americans to try to reduce costs, and so many of the products that would be tariffed when they come into the country, the outgoing country is not paying the tariff. The buyers in the United States pay that, and then that's passed on to consumers, in most instances. Sometimes, how would you expect to have prices come down if you have such a broad plan for tariffs? And what do you say to the voters who want to see you reduce everyday costs? Well, let me just tell you that I got elected for a lot of reasons. Number one was the border. Number two was inflation, because I had almost no inflation. And yet I charged hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs to countries. Think of it. I had almost no inflation and took in $600 billion of money from other countries. Tariffs don't cause inflation. They cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers, and unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deal. But the tariffs are going to make us very rich and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that changes. Are you concerned about the market reaction around tariffs? No. Tariffs. The word tariff is a very misunderstood word. I heard me say, I say it kiddingly. But, it's one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary, really is. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, wasted no time responding to Trump's tariff announcement in a fiery statement. She vowed swift retaliation against what she described as an unjustified attack on Mexico's economy. Sheinbaum made it clear that Mexico will not be intimidated by Trump's aggressive tactics. Before we move on, make sure to like and subscribe for all the updates you need. Let's continue. Sheinbaum has already outlined plans for counter-tariffs targeting key U.S. exports like corn, pork, and dairy products, industries that rely heavily on Mexican markets. These measures could deal a significant blow to American farmers, many of whom are already struggling with rising costs and dwindling profits due to previous trade disputes initiated by Trump during his first term. However, Sheinbaum isn't just focused on economic retaliation. She's also calling out the hypocrisy in Trump's rhetoric. While Trump accuses Mexico of failing to curb drug trafficking and illegal immigration, Sheinbaum points out that much of the demand for drugs like fentanyl originates in the United States itself. She has emphasized the need for shared responsibility rather than scapegoating. Sheinbaum's response underscores her commitment to defending Mexico's sovereignty and economic interests. By standing up to Trump, she is sending a message not just to Washington, but to the world. Mexico will not be bullied into submission by its northern neighbor. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has also taken a firm stance against Trump's tariffs, describing them as an attack on Canadian workers and businesses. As President Trump stated yesterday, he is still committed to placing tariffs on Canada, starting as early as tomorrow, possibly. Now, we don't know precisely what that could look like, but I do know two things. First, if the president does choose to implement any tariffs against Canada, we're ready with a response, a purposeful, forceful, but reasonable immediate response. It's not what we want, but if he moves forward, we will also act. Any possible scenario, and that is thanks to all of you. Your work is incredibly valuable, and its effects are already being felt in regions of the country, industries, thoughtful business leaders, and thought leaders to unite as part of Team Canada, to be ready and flexible, whatever comes. It's not just the right thing to do, it's also deeply reassuring. Reassuring to Canadians, reassuring to business owners, to workers, and to people around the world who look to Canada as a key partner. You've been speaking out, stressing that tariffs against Canada would have disastrous consequences for the United States, putting American jobs at risk, raising prices on Americans, and undermining our collective security. Trudeau has pledged a strong and prompt reaction, signalling that Canada will not back down in this escalating trade dispute. Trudeau's government is reportedly preparing a list of retaliatory tariffs targeting US-made goods, such as steel, aluminum, and agricultural products. These countermeasures are designed to hit key industries in states that are politically important to Trump, sending a clear message that Canada will defend its interests. Beyond economic retaliation, Trudeau is also leveraging diplomacy to rally international support against Trump's protectionist policies. He has reached out to other world leaders, including those in Europe and Asia, to build a coalition advocating free trade and multilateral cooperation. Trudeau's strategy reflects his broader vision for Canada as a global leader in progressive trade policies. By standing up to Trump's aggressive tactics, he is reinforcing Canada's reputation as a reliable trading partner, committed to fairness and mutual benefit. However, Trudeau faces challenges at home as well. Canadian businesses reliant on cross-border trade are bracing for significant disruptions. The automotive industry is particularly vulnerable. Many Canadian manufacturers depend on parts imported from the US, which will now be subject to higher costs due to tariffs. Even with these challenges, Trudeau remains resolute. His leadership during this crisis demonstrates his commitment to protecting Canadian workers while upholding the principles of free trade. Canadian MP Charlie Angus has emerged as one of the most vocal critics of Trump's tariffs within Canada's political sphere. Landscape representing workers in Northern Ontario, a region heavily reliant on cross-border trade, Angus has called for immediate action from the Canadian government. Angus argues that Trump's tariffs are a no-win situation for everyone involved. Consumers face higher prices, businesses struggle with increased costs, and international relations deteriorate further with each passing day. He warns that these measures could lead to job losses, not just in Canada, but also in the United States. In Parliament, Angus has urged Trudeau's government to take bold steps in response to Trump's actions. He advocates for targeted counter-tariffs to hit industries critical to Trump's political base while minimizing harm to Canadian consumers. Angus also emphasizes the importance of solidarity with Mexico. During this crisis, he argues that Canada and Mexico must present a united front against Trump's divisive tactics, a sentiment echoed by many within Canada's political establishment. Former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney has weighed in on the tariff debate with a sobering assessment. Tariffs are no win for anyone. Carney warns that these measures will create economic disruption on both sides of the border without delivering meaningful benefits. Carney points out that tariffs act as hidden taxes on consumers. When import costs rise due to tariffs, businesses pass those costs onto their customers in the form of higher prices. This dynamic disproportionately affects low and middle income households already struggling with inflation. Carney also highlights how tariffs undermine global supply chains, a cornerstone of modern economies. By disrupting trade flows between Canada, Mexico, and the US, Trump's policies risk stifling innovation and productivity across industries ranging from technology to agriculture. Perhaps most damningly, Carney argues that Trump's tariffs reflect a fundamental misunderstanding of economics. Far from protecting American jobs or industries, these measures create uncertainty that discourages investment and slows economic growth. The proposed tariffs are poised to significantly increase prices for everyday goods in Canada, with over 20% of Canada's exports going to the US. The direct impact on Canadian consumers could be profound. Essentialized items such as automotive, parts, electronics, and agricultural products, including tomatoes, avocados, and berries, are likely to see price hikes as businesses pass on the costs of tariffs to consumers. Experts predict that the tariffs could lead to an increase in grocery prices by approximately 25%, exacerbating an already challenging economic environment for many Canadian families. This inflationary pressure comes when Canadians are already grappling with rising living costs. For example, gasoline could spike by 30 to 40 cents per gallon, due to increased tariffs on oil imports from Canada, further straining household budgets. Moreover, the automotive sector, one of Canada's key industries, will face significant challenges. Many vehicles are manufactured with parts sourced from Canada and Mexico. Thus, a 25% tariff could lead to a notable increase in vehicle prices. As production costs rise, consumers will bear the brunt of these expenses, leading to fewer people being able to afford new cars. The ramifications extend beyond consumer goods. They threaten jobs and industries reliant on cross-border trade. If companies scale back production or relocate operations due to increased costs, job losses could follow. The economic uncertainty created by these tariffs will likely lead many Canadians to rethink their spending habits, further dampening economic growth. The newly implemented tariffs pose a significant threat to the future of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, an agreement designed to foster cooperative trade between the US, Canada, and Mexico. By imposing these tariffs, Trump undermines the principles upon which this agreement was built: mutual benefit and respect among trading partners. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement was intended to create a more balanced trading environment. However, Trump's actions signal a regression toward isolationism and protectionism. Economists warn that if these tariffs remain in place long-term, they could erode any economic gains achieved through the agreement. Moreover, the imposition of tariffs creates uncertainty for businesses operating under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement framework. Companies may find it difficult to navigate an evolving landscape where trade rules can change overnight based on political whims. This uncertainty is detrimental not only for businesses, but also for